It's no secret on this channel that I love using gamepads. Being an avid racing and retro platformer enjoyer, it's always a requirement for me to complete that experience by playing on a proper gamepad. Well, I recently upgraded my phone and none of my previous gamepads fit it. It's time to get an upgrade. This is the ROG Tessen and it might just be what I've been looking for so long. Let's get it unboxed and tested. This video is brought to you by Sethan Tech. The devices that you're going to see in this video are confirmed to be available from their store, so if you're in the Philippines and want to purchase these products, hit them up. They've got great prices, are quick to reply, constantly update their page with great deals, and accept a wide range of payment options, even via crypto. I've put the link down in the video description, so head on over to their page to check out the latest listings and let them know I sent you. That's it, back to the video. So the ROG Tessen arrives in a box that is quintessentially ROG, with its predominantly black print with the unmistakable hit of red. Here at the front we can see what the product looks like. Let's not dwell on that too much since I'm excited to try this out. At the back we can see the Tessen without a phone. Yes, it's a folding and stretchy gamepad. Alright, let's get it unboxed. Upon taking out the top sleeve, these four flaps unfold to reveal the ROG Tessen on what seems to be a little cardboard pedestal. Let's take it out and see the accessories it comes with. Under a little flap at the underside of the Tessen pedestal, there are rubber inserts that are supposed to go into the sides of the Tessen, where it grips your phone. These act both as padding and as spacers so the Tessen can grip your phone more securely and can take into account different thicknesses of phones and even their cases. We'll take a closer look at these later. Underneath the entire pedestal we get the manual and warranty card, and that's it. Do note that since the ROG Tessen is not battery powered, only device powered, there is no included cable with the device. Also, this little cardboard pedestal thing is marked as a reusable controller stand, but so far I haven't figured out how to actually use it. Anyways, let's head on over to the product tour. So the ROG Tessen is one of those telescoping or stretchy gamepads. According to the ROG website, it can accommodate phones up to 7 inches in size, with thicknesses ranging from 7 to 14.5 millimeters. Yes, it's weird to use the metric system and the 12th system Americans love so much in one sentence. Unfolding it and looking here at the front, we can see that it's using the Xbox offset joystick layout. It's very light too, it barely weighs anything in my hands. The finish is a mix of grippy matte and somewhat textured glossy parts where if you close up, you would actually see that it's a repeating pattern of the ROG letters. Nice attention to detail here, ROG. It has the standard ABXY buttons here at the top, followed by the joystick, then the ROG button on the bottom left, and the start button on the lower right. Of all the correct things this gamepad does, this ain't the one. Why would you put the start button here, ROG? Anyway. One big thing to note here is the ABXY cluster is now using mechanical clicky buttons, which is always a welcome addition to any gamepad. I personally like the clicky, non-mushy feeling of mechanical buttons. Heading on over to the middle, this is where we can see the USB-C connector of the Tessen on the right side, the folding mechanism, and the middle spacer insert. Alright, let's bring these back. So you have the option of installing these on the Tessen to get a more snug grip on your devices, and of course to prevent plastic on plastic or metal on plastic connections. Of course, you always have the option to run them without two if your device is too thick or you're running one of those heavy-duty cases. There is only one insert for the right side, denoted by this hole for the USB-C connector. On the other side, you can swap out the pads for whichever one fits your phone the best. Don't forget that there's a middle thick spacer that's pre-installed on the Tessen that you can swap out for a thinner one, so the break angle of the telescoping part at the back isn't too drastic. Alright, heading on over to the left side, we see the second joystick. Do note that these are not Hall effect joysticks. Hopefully, we will see a mod kit for this in the future to upgrade them to longer lasting and more precise Hall effect ones. Moving downward, we get the non-moddable D-pad with the same satisfying depressed mechanical buttons like the ABXY cluster. Then we have the same awkwardly placed select button on the left and the home button on the right. Moving on up to the top, we see the standard LR bumpers and triggers. It doesn't say on any ROG marketing material, but these might be Hall effect triggers. Please comment down below if you know, because I don't. Moving on down to the back, we see two aluminum rear paddles. These are technically removable since we can see the screws holding them in here, but I doubt that ROG provides any kind of cover for the buttons that will be inevitably exposed when these are removed. And here at the bottom, we can see the RGB channel that runs through the whole device, as well as the USB-C port for pass-through charging. ROG claims that it can do 18 watts of fast pass-through charging in this port. Alright, that's good enough for basic fast charging, I'll take it. Alright, that's it for the product tour, let's get it set up. Since this is an ROG product, I figured that it would work best when connected to an ROG phone, so here's me installing it on my ROG Phone 6. Note how I didn't have to remove my Aero case for it to fit the phone. It's also slightly funny looking too, since the ROG Phone 6 has an offset bottom USB-C port. The phone doesn't fit within the general center line of the Tessen, it's placed a bit higher, which is ergonomically fine. Plus, since I have the rubber spacers installed on the Tessen, the phone is snug in place. Alright, let's see the software for this. Let's open up Armoury Crate. Inside Armoury Crate, we can see that there's only 2 accessible tabs with a little gear icon at the top right for firmware update. First tab we have is Buttons. This is just where we can remap any button on the ROG Tessen to whatever controller input we want. If you want to remap the paddles at the back, you just have to press back here at the left side, or if you want to do it on the fly, you can actually just press both the ROG button at the front and the paddle at the back, then press any of the face buttons that you want remapped to that paddle. Then you basically have double the input for that face button. It might come useful in some games. There's also a button here on the left to show the top, meaning the bumpers and the triggers if you want to remap those, or a reset to set everything back to default key assignments. Moving on over to the lighting tab, this is where we can adjust the RGB lighting on the ROG Tessen. We can choose from 7 different lighting effects, not including off. We can also choose the direction, brightness, and speed of the RGB effect here. For now, I'll just set it to rainbow and at a slow speed. It's relaxing to see it that way. Finally, up on that little gear icon on the upper right, we can see the firmware update tool. Last bit of checking that we're going to do is heading on over to Gamepad Tester. As we can see here, it's actually recognized as its own controller, the Asus ROG Tessen, instead of a nondescript Xbox or X-input controller. We can see that the joysticks and buttons are all recognized, including the depth sensing on both triggers and the maximum throw of both joysticks. ROG also claims that the Tessen is running at a 500Hz polling rate, so you know that it's going to be very responsive. Well, it's a given since it is technically a hardwired gamepad, not a wireless one. Alright, I've taken you on a tour around the product and checked out its software. How about we do some gaming? But like I told you in the intro for this video, I didn't get this for the ROG phone. I already have the kunai for that. I got the ROG Tessen for this phone, my new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Now would you look at that beast. Large screen, accessible controller, let's get to gaming, shall we? So for today, we're going to be testing the ROG Tessen on 5 apps on my Z Fold 6. These first 3 will be native Android apps, just to see how well it performs inside. Then we're going to head on over to 2 apps that I really wanted this to work for and currently building a little video tutorial about. Let's go. First app we're going to test it out in is one of my all-time favorites, Minecraft. And what can I say about the ROG Tessen? Setup was incredibly smooth, I just fired up the game and the controls were already mapped in an Xbox-style format. Usage was intuitive and comfortable for the most part, although I have to mention that I am pretty thankful that the rear paddles aren't mapped to anything. As you can see, my hands are pretty huge and I have to get my grubby mitts all over the Tessen to get it secure, and in doing so, I accidentally just hold down the rear paddles the entire time. But that's alright for me, since I rarely use rear paddles in any of my controllers, but that might be a consideration for other people with gorilla hands like mine. Next app we're going to test out is some Tower of Fantasy. Now please keep in mind, I haven't been regularly playing this game for a long time, so you might see my very old character using a very archaic setup. But hey, I had some good memories with this game and I saw it as supported in the ROG Tessen webpage, so I had to try it out. And yeah, when I was regularly playing this back in 2022, I was playing it on PC. But now trying it out on the Tessen, I can see myself settling in and getting comfortable with this game when I have some downtime out and about. Like with my experience with Minecraft, gameplay is responsive, and I really have to give props to ROG in including these mechanical face buttons. They're just absolutely pleasant to use. Moving on over to our next app, we have what is arguably the best single-player racing game on mobile, Grid Autosport. It's just a faithful but cut-down representation of the experience of playing Grid on PC or console, and the ROG Tessen handles controls on this beautifully. I know that I said that it's a cut-down experience, but the ROG Tessen is every bit as responsive and smooth as racing on a gamepad on a PC or console. The only thing that you're going to be asking the Tessen more of are grips, because I'm sure you're going to be like me when I fired this game up. I knew I was going to be playing it for a long time, and the short and small grips are going to tire out my hands after a while. Alright, time to move on over to the two apps that I'm dying to run on the ROG Tessen. This first one is my go-to when I'm out and about and I need to entertain myself for the next 30 minutes to an hour or so. This is M64 Plus, a Nintendo 64 emulator that I use to play Mario 64, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, and Banjo-Kazooie. Jumping into Mario 64, this game just takes me back to when I was a kid playing in front of a small CRT TV with my brothers. It just needed a short configuration inside the M64 Plus settings, but after that, it was golden. The ROG Tessen performed well, and I experienced no creaks and loose-feeling parts of the gamepad, and it was overall a great experience. 1 big star. Finally, we move on over to Moonlight. See, this is my cheat code. This is how I do my mobile gaming around the house. I connect to my gaming laptop, fire up Forza Horizon 5 or Fallout 76, and game on either the ROG Ally at the lowest power setting or on my phone, mounted on a gamepad. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're running Moonlight on my Z Fold 6 patched into my ROG Ally plus XG Mobile running Sunshine, and I've got Forza Horizon 5 loaded up on it. And right off the bat, the ROG Tessen works as an input in both desktop mode and gamepad mode. Do note that there seems to be a bit of input lag when using desktop mode, meaning you're controlling the mouse using the left thumbstick, but when I'm in gamepad mode, it's smooth as butter. This is the exact setup that I've been yearning for ever since I received my Z Fold 6, and now it's ready. It's the final piece of the puzzle. So, what do we think about the ROG Tessen? Coming in at $110 or around 6,200 Philippine pesos, I think this is great value for people who want to make the most out of their mobile gaming experience, whether it be native Android apps, emulators, or even game streaming services. Yes, there is still a lot of space for upgrades in the future like Hall effect joysticks and triggers, faster pass-through charging, or even support for offset USB-C ports, but as it stands, it's a great mobile gamepad that won't leave you wanting for much else. If you want to get one for yourself, I've left some links in the description. So that's the ROG Tessen folding mobile gamepad. Do you have any questions about it? Leave it down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. While you're there, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. That's it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.